Was 2017 the beginning of the end for Larry Fedora? MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down all the Power 5 teams. We have made our way through the ACC Atlantic Division. Check out those videos as well as all the ones from the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and our wrap-up videos where we explain our standings for each and every conference. Now we're in the ACC. We've made our way to the Coastal Division. North Carolina, yes, awful last season at 3-9, 1-7 in the ACC with a win at Pitt. All right, so 2017, yes, the beginning of the end, or maybe some building blocks that could be used with playing all those young players to get Larry Fedora and the Tar Heels back on track to where they were before that season, in which they were winning 8 to 9 to 10 ball games, getting to an ACC championship game a few years ago as well. All right. What do they have coming back here in 2018 that causes for some hope to at least get through half the football season to basketball season? Chaz Surratt started most of the games. He completed 58% of his passes, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And then we also have Nathan Elliott with 10 touchdowns, 5 picks, 51% passer. They both showed flashes. They were both inconsistent. You get the deal. However, you've got a situation with Chaz Surratt in which he is going to miss 4 games because of the infamous suspension selling the team-issued Jordans. 13 players suspended for various numbers of games, and because of the nature of the suspensions and the cost to the football roster, those suspensions were delegated throughout the season. So they came between 1 game and 4 games for various players, and Surratt gets pinned for 4 games. Regardless of that situation, Larry Fedora is still making a decision. I just searched the web, just looked it up, just went through everything in regards to a quarterback decision, and Larry Fedora's decision still has yet to be played. All right, these are the weapons. Anthony Ratliff-Williams, 35 catches, 630 yards, and 6 touchdowns, so a lot of yardage per reception for Anthony Ratliff-Williams. Also at wideout, Daz Newsome caught 18 for 227. You got Bo Corrales. He's another 4-game suspension guy. 9 catches, but 3 touchdowns last year. They were counting on him making big plays. At the tight end position, Carl Tucker has been named the starting tight end, 6 receptions for 100 yards last year. Okay, at running back, this is one of the best positions on this team. Michael Carter's a really, really good back. Considering the lack of a passing threat and team stacking the box and being behind in every game by a couple scores, Michael Carter gained 559 yards, 5.8 per carry, and 8 touchdowns as a freshman. Jordan Brown coming back, 613 yards and 4 touchdowns. He caught 29 passes out of the backfield. And an interesting pickup from Auburn, Stanton Truitt, who carried it 31 times for the Tigers en route to an SEC championship game for 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 7 catches out of the backfield. He's in play for the North Carolina running game. It's an offensive line that was actually, despite all those losses and despite having struggles on offense, it had more to do with the passing game and the quarterback in play necessarily than the offensive line. Not that the offensive line was great, but they had experience. And, of course, this was the offensive unit, starting with the line, that played so well with Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback the previous season, and Ryan Switzer and the rest of those playmakers, Mac Hollins and so forth, in play. Elijah Hood as well at running back for the 16 Tar Heels. Well, they lost just about all those guys. 100-plus starts on the offensive line lost, but the backups did play a lot because of injuries. The offensive lineman Brian Anderson, he's another key member of the offensive front, but he's gone for 4 games as well. Let's go to the defense. Now in the hands of former Nebraska defensive coordinator John Pachushis. The run defense last season was awful, but it's a very fast, undersized defensive front. So that's one of the main reasons why they got pushed around and were not able to stand up to the better running games in the ACC, which would be last season. They had to take on the likes of North Carolina State and all those playmakers on offense. The Miami offensive line, not great, but of course the running backs are. And on and on and on and on. Georgia Tech, that rushing offense, of course, coming at North Carolina each and every year, and undersized but quick and fast defensive linemen. Led by senior defensive end Malik Carney. 12 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks. He's the best player they have on the front. Unfortunately, guess what? Suspended for 4 games. All right, the linebackers are thin and inexperienced. They also have a strong defensive tackle in Jalen Dalton. He had, and with the defensive tackles, obviously you can discount the stats to a certain degree, but to get into the backfield as a D tackle for 8 tackles for loss is pretty good and 3 sacks. The starters at cornerback, gone. They do have 4 corners that played pretty significant time last year. They are back. Their safeties are really good. They made plays, at least, in Miles Dorn, 71 tackles, 2 interceptions, and J.K. Britt, 53 tackles. All right, the North Carolina, the schedule out of conference is pretty fair. They do have 2 difficult games that I expect them to lose. They lost to Cal last year at home, 35-30. They've got to make the return trip all the way across the country this year, so they lose at Cal. They also lose to Central Florida. Those are 2 out of 4 of the non-conference games, so the Heels go 2-2 non-conference. All right. They always play North Carolina State, which has been a difficult assignment for them in recent years. They got bludgeoned last year, and then the year before, despite having the better team, they lost that game late in the season. So they got North Carolina State. That's going to be a loss. They've got Syracuse. So I put Syracuse in a mix of 4 games in which I believe the Heels will win 2. Pitt, Virginia, Duke, and Syracuse. I think they can salvage 2 wins out of those 4 games. The suspensions certainly won't help. When you talk about 13 players averaging 2 to 3 suspensions each, you're losing 30 to 40 games played this season out of some decent players. Not all those players were big contributors, but some were, as we mentioned. Chaz Surratt, Bo Corrales, Malik Carney in particular. Those guys lost, and Brian Anderson as well. All right, they get the 2 wins in the ACC, 2 out of conference. Do the math. It's 4 wins for the Heels. It's 1 better than last year. It's 2-6 in the ACC. So Larry Fedora, does he survive this? We shall see in December. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down North Carolina football. We ask you to leave your North Carolina record down in the comments section. Also, grab one of those links to do your Amazon shopping. That helps out the channel as well. And more than anything, join the newsletter. We have a weekly newsletter. Need to come up with a good name for it, so if you have suggestions, please leave them. Weekly newsletter starting the first Monday of the college football season on Labor Day. Coming at you each and every Monday with stats and trends and facts and my take on the college football weekend, and also a channel update as well. Right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football.